In the meantime, making headlines here at home, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is calling on the federal government to divulge the names of parliamentarians accused of working with foreign entities to influence Canadian politics. Here's what he had to say.
The National Security Committee indicates there are members of this House that have knowingly worked for foreign hostile governments. Canadians have a right to know who and what is the information. Who are they?
So the members of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians say their hands are tied when it comes to naming names. And joining us this morning is Andrew House, a lawyer and partner at Fasken who specializes in national security law. Great to be able to talk with you today. Thanks for coming on.
Great to be here, Anne-Marie. Thank you.
So as a reminder to our viewers, we know this all stems from the most recent report that was authored by the committee. It's made up of lawmakers, which draws upon intelligence community information from agencies like CSIS. But despite the several allegations that were made against parliamentarians, no names were made public, even though they are accused of working with foreign entities. Why are those names being kept private?
So we've got, as a country, a real mess on our hands here. And I say that because we have very serious allegations and no clear path to investigating the truthfulness of those allegations or bringing a consequence if those allegations are proven to be true. One of the factors here is the fact that this is based on intelligence, and intelligence can be imprecise at the best of times. The intelligence professionals will tell us that. So I think there's a high degree of caution being applied by the committee in not naming names. They did great work here in shedding light on an issue that in this country we have been long overdue in having a discussion on. But I think they are trying to balance those serious allegations against the rights of the people implicated to maybe tell their side of the story. So a lot of wisdom is required here, and it's unclear what path is going to be followed or can be followed.
What's also unclear, and maybe you've got some insight into this, is whether or not those parliamentarians who there is this information allegedly against are still working. Are they past parliamentarians? Are they people who are currently sitting in the House? And I guess the people are wondering, how is that in violation of Canadian law? How is still working and being and also being a parliamentarian allowed to happen?
When we say parliamentarians, of course, we can be talking about senators or members of parliament. Mm-hmm. There is at least one reference to a past parliamentarian, someone who is, we infer, no longer working on Parliament Hill in that office. In terms of the laws that may have been violated, this is the part that's really unclear. There is a law, the Security of Information Act, that talks about foreign influenced activities and the fact that someone acts at the behest of or under the direction of a foreign state. That law is in evolution as a result of Bill C-70. There's a law that will come into force, but it's not in force now. And even when it comes into force, it won't apply to past activity. And this is why I say we've got a serious problem. Canadians do have a right to know the names of these individuals, but those individuals also have a right to due process. And if there's going to be a consequence here, in order for it to be meaningful, they've got to have due process. They've got to have the ability to know the case against them and to be able to tell their side of the story. What forum that takes place in is what we're all grappling with right now.
Yeah, and we should remind everybody that the committee chair, David McGuinty, says this is going to be up to the RCMP to decide whether or not to pursue charges, and the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, saying the same thing. How difficult are instances dealing with alleged foreign interference to actually go ahead and prosecute?
Well, this is the problem. It's really tough. It's tough right now because, A, there isn't a law that clearly applies. And if there were, B, it's really hard to get this evidence into court. And that's because the evidence that would be used to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt, that is the criminal standard, that's a high bar, and it should be a high bar, is based on intelligence that's been collected. It's not a criminal investigation. It's something that's been done under the powers probably of the CSIS Act. Getting that information into a courtroom is no easy feat. If it's intelligence that belongs to an allied country, that country may not want that information to be exposed publicly. If it's Canadian intelligence, we don't want to expose our methods, our sources, the kinds of work that has to be done to keep the country safe. CSIS does great work in this country. They have a very, very tough job as it is, and they don't need their processes destabilized by having the whole thing held up to the harsh light of day in a courtroom. And yet, that's what has to happen if there's going to be a meaningful consequence for what may be criminal activity.
And Andrew, the flip side of that, of course, is foreign countries are well aware of that as well, which is what allows this kind of activity to continue in the first place. Andrew, great to have you on today. I appreciate your insights.
Thanks very much.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.